We've achieved so much in a time when women's rights organizations and grants department in particular in this are struggling to stay alive. We've actually doubled our income. At a time when people talk about African organizations, women's rights organizations, as small, marginal, a whole load of other adjectives, we've been able to influence the way in which people fund women's rights on our continent. We've been able to change the narrative. We're not all the way there yet, but we are on a journey, and we have managed to change the narrative about what African women do and who we are and what we achieve.
Okay, so first question. When I think about financial resilience, what's the first image that works with that? What image works with that?
So looking at this child who is struggling to reach to something up there.
Okay, so I picked kids in a very carefree world who are very happy, have no worries, no financial burden in this world, no financial resilience. I think this picture does
So it brings a lot of joy, right?
Yeah.
And they have little gifts right there.
Mm-hmm. And no boundaries.
And no boundaries.
No one tells you what to do.
And so when we talk about good to great when it comes to financial resilience, it means that what would innovation look like? What would leadership look like in terms of your financial model? Because we know one thing, we're really good at getting money from governments, the bilaterals, foundations, etc. But how about other financing streams beyond that? So the fact that the whole team was there for the first day is really important and also really fun. This is an organization that has always said we make grants and we raise funds. And we have these two core businesses, if you will, which sounds like a contradiction, but we have to be good at both. And what it signaled to me is that this is an organization that truly experiences that. Because what sometimes happens is that we work with a group and we get a really small number of people, like those who have resource mobilization and finance in their job description, because it's really their job and not the work of the others. And so this organization understands that everybody is representing the organization, is speaking about it, is picking up new information, has ideas that are relevant to building greater financial strength for this organization, because greater financial strength means more impact. So they're at a time where some leaders might go, oh, we can relax, because things are in good shape. But this leadership says, because we're in good shape, let's use this window to do something different. And that's where the whole innovation drive comes in. So even from the early years, the leadership of this organization, the staff, the board, they've always been thinking differently about resourcing, the resourcing question. Okay, so the question for this round for all of you is to say, okay, what is the one thing about today that I will absolutely still remember 6 months from now?
Two things. One is I'll remember the smiles and the laughter, because sometimes you can have group meetings which are very depressing and leave you feeling bad rather than good. And what I appreciate is that it feels like each time we've been meeting recently, there's been a growth in the laughter and the smiles and the appreciation. So that's going to stay with me, particularly when we get another NORAD. And then the other thing is diversity, diversity, diversity in funding, in funders, in geography, the whole lot. So,
We have seen the growth of AWDF
for the past 16 years, and there is a need for us to think differently. And personally, I feel that the best way to embrace change is to open yourself up. When you are anxious and afraid, you lose the opportunities. So I'm open.
AWDF for years have been thinking of its sustainability beyond what we see now, that is relying on institutional funders. We're looking at, with our growth, we need to think of alternative resources. We need to stop, pause, and then look at how best we can strengthen our organization financially. And it is important for us to go through this exercise, not because it is new, but it's something that has been part of our thinking for a long period. We launched our endowment in 2007, and we've been working on it and growing as an organization. And we are in a good place now in terms of funding, but we've reached that stage of our lives that we need to really pause and see how we can broaden our tentacles and widen our funding scope to enable us support more women's rights organizations.
For me, just even on a kind of principle basis, if AWDF is doing this work and investing in the continent in the way we are, Africans should be supporting it. I think it's very important. Where is the money for us in private philanthropy, in public foundations, and in African individuals and African corporates? That's my question about it, in terms of just also where's the African money? And are we going to really try and get it? I know we've tried, but I mean, are we really going to try and get it or not?
In terms of your new finance model, right? So you have your pie chart, right? And you're gonna have, for sure, you're gonna have grants. And I put the fire into it, and I said grants are gonna go away. Well, actually, this part of the world, they will stick around for the longest. You know, if we were in Latin America, we wouldn't be so lucky, right? But if you say 25% has to come from these sort of new models, and that could be individuals, you know. So we looked at many. You know, in some form of, you know, program-related investment, etc. Now, that is a priority that requires investment and time. And some of you are going to play a big role in making that happen, including figuring out what other capacities you need.
For me, the question is, even as we are planning for our own resilience, financial resilience, how do we ensure that other women's funds, how do we ensure that other women's rights organizations also build that same resilience to be able to ensure that this movement, this campaign is taken to the end?
I think there are a few challenges for AWDF moving forward when it comes to thinking about our financial resilience. I mean, one is certainly this issue of managing our success, because I think when it comes to some of the larger donors, there's already that sense that, oh, maybe we're growing too big, which of course is a false narrative and something that we need to creatively try to address and create our own narrative about what size and scale means and why it's important. In terms of the scope of the work we do, we also need resources to meet the scope of the work we do, which is an enormous, you know, continent, and a lot of needs. I think also the challenge of really working out how we leave some of our comfort zones, because like bilateral funding and foundation funding is going to be a cornerstone. It is a comfort zone also. How we also make smart decisions, you know, and how we, like I said, we also think about the efficiency of it. So like there's loads of ideas in a brainstorming session. But how do we get to the process of really working out what's actually going to work? And sometimes it means you have to leave your darlings behind and maybe try and experiment a little bit. So I feel like the experimentation, we maybe need to get out of our own head of scarcity or feeling worried and kind of just acknowledge that we actually have a solid base now, which means we don't have to worry, and that ease should be the thing that allows us to then really think in pragmatic but exciting ways.
So we're in 2030 and we've reached this goal. Isn't that cool? But in addition, we have an endowment, and the value of the principal, the invested amount, is 20 million. And so it's grown. So you see the timeline on the bottom? It goes from 2017 to 2030. And we're going to start here. In 2030, we know we've reached there. So you're going to write down that same thing, the pie charts, you know? This is where we reach. And then you use all this space. What did we do to get there?
Because you're talking about where things are headed actually in terms of giving and it's transforming. So we're thinking a little bit old-fashioned.
Young people are not going to give to an organization. But if there's a project, I would give. And so I think, again, it could be something, a Kickstarter for something or a creative thing. People will give money. With projects.
Media strategy.
So in terms of funding, we hope to, by 2030, reduce our dependency on grants from over 90% in 2017 to about 49% of our annual budget in 2030. And then we have some numbers here. We'll have 1,000 individual donors giving regularly on a regular basis. And then 1 million one-off individual donations / campaign blasts.
With social enterprise, that's when we've gotten to a place where we're collaborating with an architecture school and with like-minded individuals such as urban planners, interior design, all really cutting edge, future-focused stuff, so that this space is not just like another building. Like, it's specifically designed for women, by women, lots of different input in it, so that again, it's not just about the building, it becomes about more than that. It's a concept, and then people can buy into the concept, and that's really kind of where you start making money.
2020 to 2020. So here it's all about building the systems and structures, making sure that it's going to take us to the next level. So a lot of investment will be required at this level. And then here it will be more about monitoring and expanding what is working, and then dropping what is not working, and re-strategizing. We have had a lot of funding over the past 16 years, but fixed funding over a period of time. And we have realized that where we become dependent on one donor, when that funding ends, there's usually a drop. And then, we rise again. And we see part of that as the fact that we are not financially resilient. Because if you are financially resilient, then you have the ability to withstand these pressures, because you have a foresight and you have a plan, which is more robust than a fixed donor term contract. So we see, especially at this time in the life of AWDF, where we have a huge grant over a 4-year period, there is a need for us to look beyond that. Otherwise, should that funding end, we'll find ourselves in a deeper situation than we've been in the past, because this is huge. We have really grown, almost doubled from this year onward, and therefore we are really in a position now to think differently about how we finance our business.
And I think the big question today, in 2017, is can we really continue to depend on grants? Grants from governments, in the global north, or grants from foundations, also mostly based in the global north. Is that really a good idea? And what we're seeing, in terms of trends, that it's not a good idea. Because the research shows, and there are many organizations like Civicus and also AWDF in the women's rights world who are providing us with the evidence that it's not getting any better. So we really need to think beyond grants.
And so for me, it's just I think financing is critical just for AWDF and other women's funds to understand. They might not get right into it because it's a field that's new, but if they don't, then I think they're going to miss an opportunity. I keep hearing it's this is going to be kind of the new normal in terms of investing in a field. And so if we're behind, we're not going to capture that information. We're not going to be able to capture those types of investments. And it's good to think out of the box, honestly. I feel that for women's funds, AWDF, they're thinking they have a building. So they've already thought about actually kind of this different form of investing. But how else can they utilize this type of financing?
And it's interesting to think about how this organization could also be in a position to sort of create the sort of economy it wants to see simply by changing or enhancing the practices that it already has.
The low-hanging fruit opportunity is really, okay, where do they invest their money? And is it through funds? Is it through equity? What kind of screens can they use? Like a negative screen, how can they screen out to make sure that they're not investing in coal? Or how can they screen out for companies that have bad gender practices? Or can they have positive screens for companies that have good gender practices and are doing sustainable environmental practices?
So for me, the real question is about how are we going to restructure and how are we going to use that as a way of helping other people or helping other people go on their own journey.
For as far as this exercise is concerned, I think I get the message that we need a team. You know, when you are building momentum, it's a team effort, and recognizing that each member of the team brings on board different strengths and weaknesses. You know, so we need to be conscious about what it takes to sort of keep the momentum at a level where everybody feels part of the process. I mean, action alone will not yield the end results, neither will structure alone. We need to be conscious about how we bring everybody on board and what kind of skill sets is needed to keep the process going.
And what I would like to tell everybody is that no matter the challenges, no matter the crisis ahead of us as an organization, let's all believe that we can make it and it will happen.
Okay, so what I would like to say is everything we've talked about within these past 3 days is possible, and we can do it. We just have to put our hearts to it, and it will be done. To all of you, it's been nice working in this space with you.
For me personally, everything has come together. I mean, in terms of other exposures, other lessons and everything. And I must say, the past has been a great lesson for our next stage. And what I can say to all of you is that AWDF is ready.
We've got this!
I'm actually wondering what to say. You know, in fact, this is the first workshop I've seen that the facilitators, you know, it's been all interaction. You know, with the not much presentation and slides and all those things. So I have really enjoyed it. The sleeping was minimal.